Welcome back to Whitt Acres. In this video, we're going to be scaping the new turtle tank. With the turtles still here in their temporary tub, I've been trying to get their new tank all set up and ready for them. There's even been a couple times I've been seeing them up on the edge trying to escape. My plan for the turtle tank is going to be similar to all my other tanks. We're going to be doing a deep sand substrate as well as using natural wood and stone elements. So much like the Oscar tank that we recently finished, I'm going to be going up to my brother's house where he has a bunch of wooded acres that I can go around and forage for some nice aquarium decor. So I'm going to grab the dogs and we're going to take a walk through the Pennsylvania Wild and see if we can find any interesting wood elements. I already have a large pile of stone at my house that I can look through to try and find the stone elements that I want. So while I'm out there in the woods, I'm going to try and look for some interesting wood elements as well as some mosses and anything else I find interesting. We have some trees pushed over back here and then the root ball's sticking up, and I'm going to take off some of the root ball right here. This top arm looks like a nice piece, so I'm going to take that. Just like that. Okay, let's try and get it off of here without breaking it. Might need both hands. Oh, puppies. That looks pretty good there, Lils. Almost as big as you. That should do. It's definitely going to need to soak up some water after it's been sitting up here in the sun just dry baking. We'll tie it down with some rocks and this will go in the turtle tank. Oh, little girl. Now this is something I can collect. This is some nice fern moss. I don't know what the name of it really is, but it looks like a fern and it's moss. It gets grown on a tree root, so I'm not going to cut it off, but I am going to take some of the moss off. Just go ahead and pinch and pull. Oh yeah, check out this piece. All the fungus on it, all the moss. It's the perfect angle for the tank, I think, so I just need to get that out of there. There we go, nice. There we go, puppy. We got one. Needed that right angle. Something else in there too, pup? You check. Here is my big haul of aquarium decor from the woods. Now we can get this home and figure out how it's going to fit in the tanks. Oh, pup. But I do need to grab some stones here at home before we head inside. So now we're back in the fish room and I have everything that we collected laid out as inventory. And now I can try and figure out a place for everything. And this is a 110-gallon tank, so this is the biggest tank that we're setting up here in the new fish room. And I already have some sand set aside here. I got bags of sand from Lowe's and then I got it all rinsed out and clean in the buckets. And now I think I have everything I need to scape this tank. I'm not entirely sure how it's going to look in the end, but I did do a drawing, so maybe at the end of the video I'll show you the drawing and we can compare how close I got. But there's only so much you can plan ahead with the design whenever you're using natural materials. They all come in their own unique shapes. I am going to be using this hanger on the back filter at least to get started with. I think you can tell it's sitting up higher than it's supposed to be, but I only have a 2-inch gap from the back of the tank to the wall. I have a drain underneath the tank that I didn't want to block, so I had to keep it pretty close to the wall so I didn't cover up this drain. So I think it'll still work sticking up like that, but if it doesn't end up working, I'm probably going to end up making a custom filter anyway, so hopefully that'll work for a little bit, but if it doesn't, we'll have to make the filter even sooner. And I've said it before, I want to fill this tank all the way up and use as much water volume as I can, so I'm also going to be building an above tank basking area for the turtles. But this is going to be the fun part, fiddling around with the wood and the stone and everything else in here trying to get a really nice scape. I found some really nice pieces of wood. Not all of this is going to get used in the scape. I actually found this for a different tank, but this big piece here is definitely going to get used. I found it a while ago in the woods and I took a mental note until it was time to go out there and cut it, and then I walked around some more and found some other really interesting pieces of wood. It is worth noting, if you're going to be going out trying to find your own wood for your aquarium, you want to give it the old scratch and sniff test. Scratch it open and sniff it and make sure it's not a very fragrant wood. Fragrant woods like cedar and pine can really affect your fish once it gets in the water. We're good. This one's maple. So just like all the other tanks we're setting up in the fish room, I'm trying to use everything I already have available to me free before I go and buy anything. But we have the two red ear sliders in their temporary tub here. They're still pretty skittish of me. I have seen them eat a couple times back there in the dark, and when I'm not by the tub for a while, I'll be able to come over here and see them basking here by the lamp, and then they skitter on back to the back of the tub again. So it's going to be really awesome when we finally get them up here in the glass where we can get a good look at them. I'll probably end up doing most of the scaping tomorrow, but I want to get this started tonight because it's really on my mind, and I want to try and get this big piece of wood in place so then I can start thinking about how I'm going to scape around it. And I also have this massively heavy rock that I want to put in there, and I'm kind of scared that it's too heavy. But I can't wait any longer, so I'm getting started. I think the first thing I need to get in is this big heavy stone. That's going to be the foundation for the wood piece. So I'm going to have to cut this egg crate to make a base for that stone to sit on and try and disperse the weight across it. I don't want to set it directly on the glass, obviously. And the glass technically isn't supported through the center. It's only supported around the outside. So I want to try and disperse the weight of the stone as much as I can. And this egg crate is going to be pretty good for that, especially used in combination with the sand. Well, maybe this will fit after all. It's starting to want to. I actually think that clip's the only thing in the way. But I did put the egg crate down just so I can set the stone on top of that and disperse the weight of the stone so I don't have any points of that stone digging into the glass. I'm also going to fill in all those squares of the egg crate with some sand and a little bit around that to hold everything in place. And then we can carefully try and set that stone in. Hump up. In. I put the sand all the way around the perimeter because I don't want any of the soil touching the glass. So I put all the soil inside the perimeter of the sand, and now I'm going to cap it over with some more sand. Alright, well last night I was able to get all the substrate in as well as the main structure across the center here. We have the main log piece as well as the heavy stones. I did shift the stone around a little bit just to make that log a little bit more secure. And I even screwed another branch in here to go towards the back just to widen out the stance and make it a little bit more stable. And I'm thinking it looks really good. It might be a little bit big though. I think sometimes I get carried away building the scape and I take away too much of the free swimming space. This is a big tank, so there's still a lot of open space here, but I'm afraid with the turtles swimming around the log, they might be banging into the glass a lot. So I'm not sure. We're gonna have to see and watch them. And if we have any issues with this scape, we'll just do another one. But I did add a few inches of water in there last night just to make sure the substrate was completely saturated. And the dry wood started soaking up the water as well. I think I'm going to fill it up a little bit below that top of the wood. Maybe even leave them a basking area up on that wood for now with the water level down, just until I get that upper basking area that goes on top of the tank done. And that'll give the dry wood more time to soak up the water. And then when I fill up the tank completely, hopefully it won't have as much buoyancy and it won't float. This stone stacking might look a little precarious, but it's actually pretty solid. I don't think the turtles are going to be big enough or strong enough to move any of this. I want to start getting that wood to soak up the water, but I also want to keep testing these seams before I put the turtles in to make sure that it's going to hold water now that we added a bunch of weight into the tank. And I was able to shimmy that hang on the back filter down into place, so we should be good now and it should actually work the way it's supposed to. But now it's time for my favorite part, filling it up with water. Alright, actually I had to take a time out and go close the barn up. Now we can fill up the tank. And just so we don't disturb the substrate this time, I'm going to rubber band a sock to the hose. Alright, the wood is already starting to become buoyant, so I wanted to shut the water off there. I did add some rocks just to add a little bit of weight so we didn't have it move at all. It did start to move a little bit in this corner, but I think I stopped it before it got too bad. And now that I'm getting some water in here, I'm getting an idea of how much swimming space there is around the log and the structure. There is one piece in here. I think I could probably make a cut here where it's broken and take this one stick out. I think that would add some much needed swim space and it wouldn't take away from the overall look too much. But to do that, I think I'm gonna have to take this log all the way back out or I'm gonna have wood shavings all through the tank. So I'm gonna sleep on it and I'll make a decision tomorrow. And we're back here on the tank. The wood definitely soaked up a lot of the water. And I thought about it, so I'm going to use some fishing line here to help tie this log down to the rock. I'm going to tie it down to this rock here that I can get all the way underneath. Just do a full loop over the log and the rock. This line is 10-pound test, so I might actually go around the log twice just to make sure. And hopefully with the water that the log soaked up already and the weight of the rock tied to the log, it shouldn't float up when we fill the tank up to the top. Alright, now that we have it looped around twice, I'm just going to go ahead and tie a couple knots in it up here and then trim off the excess. No fancy fisherman knots, just doing some regular over the hand knots. I hear you, pup. Alright, I have the log tied down now. That should help hold it in place. But that's not the only change I want to make. I do want to take out this top branch. Right where it's broken, I want to try and either break it some more or just try and cut it. But taking out that top branch will take some buoyancy off of the log and it'll also open up a lot of swimming space here in the tank. It's moving too much. Well, I'm almost there, so I might as well just keep going. I decided the Sawzall was going to be too much disturbance trying to cut this branch off, so I went with my snips. I did try and break it first, but that wasn't working. I was moving the log too much. So I tried the snips and I was able to snip enough of the wood off to where I was able to break it. Unfortunately, the log moved anyway, so I did have to do some repositioning. I was able to work the wood back into place. I think it looks pretty good. I added some of these stone on top just to weigh it down. They're not going to stay forever in the scape, but I do need them on top of the log right now so I can fill it up with some more water and try and get that that wood saturated. So now I'm attaching the sock diffuser to the end of the hose, and that's going to keep the water from disturbing the substrate, and we can fill it up some more. And I'm going to keep an eye on it, but I would like to fill the tank up above the level of the log so it's fully submerged and it can start soaking up the water. But if it doesn't have enough weight on it, I might have to stop. Is that leg starting to lift? You can't really tell, but it looks like that leg's starting to lift. That might be good for now. No, I said it was good. This leg just looks like it's a little bit higher than it was when it started. I can't really tell, but if this log shifts, then the rocks are gonna fall and hit the glass, and I really don't want that to happen. But this is actually a really good height for now. I can put the light up top and they can use the log as a basking area. And then once the log is all saturated, I can take all the rocks off and raise the water volume up to the top and give them an above tank basking area. And now that we have the water up this high, I can get a heater in there and get this filter running. And I've been keeping my filters inside the guppy breeding pond here so they can get some pre-start with the beneficial bacteria. And I was also given the old filter pads from whenever they cleaned out the turtle tank originally. So using these pads in the filter is going to get a jump start on the nitrogen cycle and make this tank ready for the turtles even faster. Alright, heater is on. And now we're going to get the filter running, and I'm probably going to do a modification or two to this. The first thing I'm going to do with the filter is add the old filter pads. So I'm going to pull them out of here from the turtle pond. Try and get as much duckweed as I can. Get here. Okay. We'll put these in first so I know how much space I'm working with. There's a little groove here that they slide into. The coarse sponge will go to the back. So we'll put them in just like this. And now with those in there, you can see there's still some empty space in and around those sponges. So I'm going to fill some of this space up with some lava rock. Lava rock is extremely porous and has a very large surface area for its size. I'm going to drop some of these in here down to the bottom. The more surface area you have, the more beneficial bacteria you can grow. So you definitely want a lot of surface area. So we'll get a few of these lava rocks in here, and those will stay in there. Even when the filter sponges get changed out, the lava rock goes back in. And we're also going to use some of this fiber polyfill. This is going to be a filter floss and take a lot of the smaller material out. So we're going to tuck that in the front here, just fill it up like so. And some for the other side. Doing about a fluffy handful here, so we'll see if this is the right amount. I'm going to fill that in. I'm going to go ahead and turn this on, let it run, and then I'm going to see if I want to stuff any more polyfill down into the middle there. But before you plug in the filter and turn it on, you do want to pre-fill it with water. So I'm going to fill this up with my marmalade jar. You can use whatever jar you have. Mine's marmalade. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and plug it in. Plug it in, plug it in. Oh, noises. Just trying. There we go. She's flowing. She's flowing. Oh, Pop. She's flowing. I'll just go ahead and stuff this extra down in here. It won't hurt. Oh, that is awesome. We got some flow. I also will be adding a sponge filter to the end of the downspout here. I just don't have one that's going to fit that. So I'll pick one up that's going to fit that tube, and that's going to add more surface area for the beneficial bacteria to grow on, as well as filter the water even more. Don't bother those turtles, puppy. What are you doing? Are they moving around? Don't bother them. Their new home is almost ready. I do want to let that wood saturate for a while. I don't want to put those turtles in there until I'm able to take all those stones off and the wood is still stable. I probably won't be planting too many plants into the substrate for this tank because the turtles will just disturb it and eat all the live plants. But I still want the deep substrate the way it's supposed to be, so we still have a full ecosystem in the tank. There is a lot more I want to do to this scape, but I need that wood to be completely saturated and stable before I go any farther. All right, that's going to be all for this one. We got the turtle tank scape in, we got the heater on, and the filter is running. And if you're interested in seeing my drawing for this scape, I'm not going to show that in this video. We didn't get that far along in the scape, and my drawing pretty much has the whole thing done. So I'm going to hold off on showing you the drawing right now until we get further along on the scape. So if you're interested in seeing the red sliders move into their new tank, make sure to subscribe down below. Hit that like button before you leave, and you can see me and Echo on the next one. Thanks for watching.